He says to her teenage kid, here's a fetus.
It's also, though, impossible not to draw parallels between that moment where you said this was a little brother or sister and your views on life.
That's
and
true.
when it begins.
Former President Bush talking about how his mother showed him a fetus in a jar that she had miscarried. Perhaps the most startling and most personal story from his new book, Decision Points, hitting stores today and prompting a new look at his legacy and, for that matter, the Bush Family Dynasty. Our next guest has written one of the most controversial books about the family and insists his story is the only accurate one.
I've spent 5 years investigating what he really did, who he really is, and the real story of how he became president. You won't find any of it in his book, but you'll find all of it in mine.
We're joined now by Russ Baker, the book, Family of Secrets. There you go. Let's cut to it. Bush argues that he found faith in order to become a better person and quit drinking. You say there was another reason why he found faith.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time with a man who was the Bush family's advisor on the religious vote, and he explained to me in great detail and showed me the memos, which I include in Family of Secrets, where he was telling them basically, you're not going to win the White House if you cannot embrace this rapidly growing fundamentalist bloc in this country. And he specifically was talking about the need to show that you were part of them, that you were with them. The father, George H.W. Bush, couldn't quite pull it off. The son said, hey, I can do this.
And I will be a Christian fundamentalist if it means I get to be president if I do.
Yeah.
His activities prior to politics largely covered up by his powerful father. Doesn't every politician try to cover up whatever they can?
I suppose so, but the magnitude of what was covered up is much, much bigger here. We never heard the end of that story with it brought down Dan Rather in CBS News, but 5 years of research, 500 interviews, thousands of documents. I can assert here that, in fact, Bush did not finish his military service. He skipped out. The father, you can actually see, and I go through all the instances, how the father was covering it up. This dental exam, they got him to go back, show up on a base and take a dental exam, and the media bought that, and they said, well, that's proof that he was serving in the military. He wasn't. He just went in, got a dental exam. I actually interviewed the dental people, and they said anybody could walk in with a bomber, a pilot jacket, and we'd look at their teeth. We don't have any idea that that guy was serving.
Let's get to the real nitty-gritty of the presidency now. The Bush administration and Bush himself argues that 9/11 was the catalyst for war in Iraq.
Not so.
Yeah.
Not so. Again, interviewing an insider, Mickey Erskowitz, a very well-known Texas journalist, ghostwriter, wrote books with many famous people, unimpeachable. Mickey had a contract with George Bush in 1999 when he was running for president. They sat down to a number of sessions. They talked through what was going to be in the book. He was having trouble getting Bush to commit to anything. He asked him, what are you going to do as president? Bush was having trouble coming up with things. He said, you ought to talk to Karl Rove about that. Mickey felt, I got to get some stuff from the horse's mouth, kept pressing him. In an unguarded moment, Bush said, I'll tell you one thing I'm going to do. If I get elected president, I'm going to invade Iraq, and I'm going to succeed. I'm going to take that guy out.
Which goes to making up for your father, so to speak, in this instance.
Not quite. That wasn't his reason. Mickey was rather surprised by this, and he asked him why he wanted to do that, and he said he had become convinced over the years as an advisor to his father, watching various presidents, that you simply could not have a successful presidency in very, very high poll ratings without a war. That you basically needed to be seen as commander-in-chief, and that was going to do it.
That being a badass war hero was the best way to get your numbers up.
Yeah, that's what he told him.
Tell that to the 66,000 dead Iraqi civilians. Unbelievable. Katrina. You argue that Katrina, and that the response to Katrina, specifically the inadequate or incompetent response from FEMA, was by no means an accident.
I don't think they deliberately screwed that up. I think what they were doing, I interviewed a lot of people who worked at FEMA for many, many years under all kinds of administrations. They basically explained to me that when Bush came in, what they wanted to do was they wanted to gut all of these domestic agencies. They basically wanted to outsource all of the functions to their big campaign contributors and to their friends. They just didn't want them to exist. So they brought in a couple of these guys I describe in Family of Secrets. First, a guy named Joe Albaugh, and then Michael Brown was brought in. And the real story of Michael Brown and exactly how unqualified he was has never before been told.
The book, Family of Secrets, the author, Russ Baker. If you're going to read Decision Points, you might want to check this out. You could read a chapter a night, alternating books, compare and contrast, but that's up to you. Russ, a pleasure. Nice to see you.